the that piece. I mean, that's his world, right? Like I've
Right.
never spent a lot of time in the advertising and marketing space just because it wasn't ever anything that was appealing to me. So something simple, like the simplicity of fatherhood, brotherhood, manhood, like that's the shit we're going to be talking about.
A lot of it. Yeah. No doubt about it.
But everyday men, everyday struggles seems like fucking too clinical to me.
Yeah. From the mind of men. I do like Beyond the Man Cave. I like derivatives of that, clearly because I'm associated with that right now. It
Mhm.
could be, inside the man cave. It can be man cave behind the scenes. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could do with that. We could definitely make derivatives of that. Um, we could also the man cave edge, right? I mean, that's your thing is Herzog Edge, right? So the man cave edge, or I kind of like that. That kind of summed it there. So, I love collaborating. I love brainstorming shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
half of this is just literally, at least for me, spending time going back and forth in conversation, throwing some stuff out, and taking the time for something to fucking stick.
right. And in the end, you're exactly right. We might stumble upon something else like new name, change it, right? You pivot.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I mean, there's so many words. Like, uh, I've got this list of words that all just kind of spark different things to me as well. And I think it's just a matter of talking through some of that, going
Yeah.
through these words, going through, conversations with these words and hitting enough that like it strikes a chord and encompasses the majority of what we're going to be talking about. But there's a lot of fucking buzzwords out there right now.
Right.
And
And because of what you just said, and I was talking to Randy about this when he sent this list over, and I said, does the name of the podcast necessarily have to be like kind of the opening of what you're talking about, or could you have some fun derivatives in there? And he said, no, you definitely really want to, have it what it's talking about. So I like comedy. I like bringing some kind of hilarity. I like bringing obscurity to certain things, especially in a title, because in my mind that sets you apart. Like I said, that's why I wrote this down over here. Sucka Trebek and the things that men deal with on a daily basis. Or that's too long, obviously. But if you put that as a title, people are going to be looking, and if they're going to see Sucka Trebek, they'll be like, wait, what the fuck is this, right?
yep.
That's just how I look. I'm trying to separate it out from all this everyman, breaking the bro code, men's inner circle, beyond the man cave, modern man. I mean, after a while, it all runs together.
There's this podcast I came across 2 years ago or something, and it's Who Shat. Okay. And so
Yeah, yeah.
have you heard that one?
Well, I've heard the title. I've heard the title.
And these chicks, these fucking English chicks talk about who shat on the floor at my wedding. And like it's fucking hysterical, right? And so I do like that element of humor. And what I was thinking about the other day in Georgia was like I can't shake this thought that Randy said we sound exactly alike. And I think that's we've shown him through multiple conversations now that we have differences. We've got different styles, different approaches, mindset, all that. But I look at you as someone who brings that element more naturally. I I've never been the type that goes down the sarcastic route, nor goes down that, funny, humor, witty route. And I don't want to try to be that. And what I love is that you bring that and that I can bring a little bit more of that seriousness and that dynamic. I think is really powerful because I do think it's really important. And I know, you know, you and Matt Reynolds are two of my friends that I mean, I've got three friends, but two of the three at least bring humor.
Yeah,
Like you guys are both like super witty, funny, and I love it. But I've always realized that I don't bring that naturally and genuinely. So I think that's a good different style, different kind of approach that has a great combination.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, get a couple of couples of scotch in you, and you're pretty funny.
I don't know. I don't know. Man, speaking of, are you doing the no booze? Or I know you didn't do the cleanse with us, but are you doing no
Yeah,
booze with us?
yeah. But I mean, January's over tomorrow, so I'm gonna go drinking.
It's not fucking done in the end of January, bro. It ends on Valentine's Day, sweetheart.
Oh, I didn't know you guys were going that long. Well, then I'm out
Why? Because you can't?
because I won't. There's can't and there's won't.
Why
So
not?
so tell me about. I want to hear about Georgia. Did you
Georgia
get some?
was fucking cold. It was record breaking cold. It has not been that cold since 2011.
Did you get snow like in Florida?
It fucking snowed. We were on a hike and it fucking snowed. Like it was ridiculous. I mean, we made the most of it, but the fact that it was that cold and windy and snowing and rainy says a lot that we still made some fun times. It was the first weekend with no booze, which made it very interesting. So I had to get very creative with my mocktails.
Uh-huh.
Um, Man, Georgia's a cool spot. There's insane trails and mountains and outdoor stuff, which is nice.
Especially where you were.
Yeah, but man, I got to tell you, I struggle with big cities. I just I kind of despise being in a big city. When was the last time you were in Atlanta airport?
Oh, is that what you're talking about? Hartsfield's a hot nightmare. I hate it.
Bro, like
Oh yeah,
just
I hate it.
people that I don't want to fucking be around. And it makes me I'm not a negative person. I would say I'm like overly positive. I'm a very optimistic person and I manage my expectations very well. So overall, I do a great job with minimizing negative energy. I had negative energy, man. I don't like how people are when they're careless. They don't give two shits about the people around them. Selfish, rude, disrespectful. Like I fucking have zero tolerance for that. And unfortunately, it's certain people. I'm not gonna mention them because I might get my ass kicked for it, but there's just certain people that behave this way, and I don't do well with that behavior.
Yeah, you're right. It's a cultural vibe, especially on the East Coast. I specifically do not like traveling to the East Coast for anything. Now, if it's like, hey, we're going to New York, we're going to fly into LaGuardia, we're going to bring our golf clubs, we're going to drive out to Long Island, and we're going to stay at an Airbnb, and we're going to play. Beth plays black twice, and we're going to go play, one other course over the course of 3 days. Drive back to LaGuardia and get the hell out of Dodge. Then I'm fine. But if I have to go to Boston or New York or Georgia or Florida or any of that East Coast cities, I really have to psych myself up for it because the culture and the lifestyle and just the way people behave to each other, I'm with you. It's not my thing, and I just sit there and think I can't wait to land back in Denver. I cannot wait to get back to where it's comfortable because I don't like the East Coast style, and it's cultural, and it's not color, it's cultural. That's just the way that all the people out there behave, in my opinion.
I agree, and it was fascinating to be northwest of Atlanta by an hour and a half, and you could just feel that entire element dissipate. And
Yeah,
it's fascinating to me. It really is. But overall, again, great time. Blue Ridge area is a sweet little spot. It's tucked away, little mountain town. Um, cool shops, great restaurants, good people, good energy. It was just a fabulous drive to this place through these back roads. I felt like I was just kind of out there. Pace was slow as hell. Um, it was It was good, man. It was a good little getaway. My poor buddy, though, bro, dude, this could be a conversation. This could be an entire podcast. I mean, like, my
Let's talk
heart,
about him. Let's talk about him.
so this guy, I went to college with him and we became pretty good buddies because he was the only other guy married when we went to school together. I mean, there might have been one or two, but like out of the people that we were around and we connected with, me and him were the only ones that were married. And we had both been married I had been married 3 years, 4 years. He was like 2 years. So we were close, newlyweds. Um, he went into education, was going to be a PE teacher, and I was getting my, basically pre-med. And so we did a lot together. We went mountain biking, we worked out together. We actually sat for the National Strength and Conditioning Association training certification together. We studied together. And Jess was so busy in med school, like he was kind of my one dude that I hung out with because all these other young college kids were fucking immature and idiots. And he was mature and married and living off campus. So we connected. And when we graduated, he stayed in Illinois for a while. His wife was pretty high up. She had graduated a year and a half earlier. She was pretty high up in the school district around that area. Ended up becoming a vice principal, worked her way up to a principal. And they had kids in 2011. But it was one of those things where Jess and I would spend some time with them as couples, and Jess and I would always have that conversation after, like, do you think that they're in love? Like, do you think that they have a strong relationship? Are they happy? We just always kind of had that feeling that something was missing, something was off, something was wrong. And we never talked about it. He, he wasn't an introvert by any means, but never really kind of got onto those topics. And I was fine with that. I mean, in those years, I never really pushed that stuff. It was never really part of my profession like it is now. So never got into those deeper convos, but life went on. He ended up moving to Georgia in 2017, 18, I think. And living life, couldn't really find a landing spot from a professional standpoint. So jumped around, did some different stuff. Like he was a mechanic for a while. He went into the insurance business for a while and just never really found his passion. We stayed in touch, but not much. Like we went a long stretch without talking
What
and
did
we
he
both,
study in college?
education.
Ah, okay.
So yes, I mean, he took the track to be a teacher. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we tried to talk about it. We think we went about 10 years without talking. And so out of the blue, this guy, just kind of approaches his wife and he's like, hey, I feel like you're putting your principal position before our marriage. Like work is clearly coming between us. Like you don't give me attention. I need attention. Like I need to feel loved. I need to feel like you care about our marriage. And, you know, I, I salute him for having the conversation because he wasn't the type to bring that stuff up. He's just the type to suck it up and live with it. Well, this led into some, hard conversations with him and his wife. And finally, his wife kind of forced him into a position to take the reins and make the decision to separate. Like his wife wouldn't really say, yeah, I think we should do this. She kind of said, yes, I am taking my profession as the priority and it is what it is. Basically live with it or leave it. Well, he ends up, and this was all the story that I heard over the weekend. He ends up just kind of approaching her one day and he's like, I don't think I can do this. Now, this was after therapy. This was after, a lot of time spent and energy and money on treatment of different sorts, talking with close friend couples, with really no help and no improvement. So he approaches her and says, "Can't do this any longer." And so she starts to kind of play the victim card and treats him like the bad guy. Um, they end up not taking it to court. So she has full custody of the girls. he was going to have to pay alimony, but his teaching job pays him about $3,000 a month. And I don't know how he's living, to be honest with you, off of $3,000 a month. He's renting a small little like side carriage house from a older couple that he knows, and they're luckily giving him rent for $1,000 a month. Should be probably a $2,000 a month rental, but that wouldn't leave him much to live off of. And he's got nothing, bro. Like she's living in the house, she's got the kids. Um, he's got fucking no friends. Her like so the couples that they hung out with, like they all went over to his wife. Like none of those guys hang out with him. They all kind of were like, well, you know, you guys are splitting up, like we can't be bros. And so like no friends. Dude, it's like depressing. Like I feel so bad for this guy. He's just kind of living day by day. He's not in the best health. I talked to him a lot when I was there and tried to just motivate him and encourage him to get back on the train. He sent me a really cool text message when I was flying out, just about, you know, inspiring him and encouraging him to do more. He went hardcore down the booze train, got a DUI, um, just
Nice.
kind of fucking lost, man. And like even Jess was like, man, I don't know how to process the feelings I have for Phil. Like he's fighting, but I don't know where he's getting his fight from. I really don't.
How did Phil allow all this to crush him, and yet she keeps seems sounds like she's thriving socially. She's got the kids. She's got everything positive out of this. How did Phil? What's his mindset like? Because I don't know Phil, and listening to your story, again, I don't know any of the perspective, but you know the bits and pieces that I picked up from this, I almost would want to say, or I do want to say in this median, you know, Phil, what the fuck? I mean, like, how is it that you've allowed this to evolve down this road? And where's your motivation to take control of something, own something, find, hey, this is who I'm going to be, or this is, you know, I don't, I mean, you know, you're the one telling the story and you know the guy, but when, when this kind of stuff, when you hear this kind of stuff, when I hear this kind of stuff, there's always an underlying self-doubt that's in that man's head, and women have it too. And, you know, that woman who lets herself go and she's now, you know, 290 pounds and all she wears is, you know, yoga pants, which everybody knows she shouldn't be wearing yoga pants, and she's the victim, and you know, on and on and on, all that kind of stuff, right? And then when she does get divorced, you know, she does everything in her power to to pit the kids against the guy. There's a dynamic happening in there. I personally think it's introspective. I personally think it's, yeah, he's having a tough go. And I don't know all the circumstances, but it's just, I think about like, I put myself in this situation. What would happen if my relationship with Elizabeth started to fall apart? Or if we were going down that road, or I was going to make that, fuck it, here's the divorce papers, you know, we're done. And let's try and make it amicable, and then it doesn't go amicable. Um, you know, where's the mindset of I personally need to take responsibility for me and start doing things for me. It almost sounds like he's screaming for help and people are offering it, but he won't listen. He won't take it. He's he's like, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for giving me all that motivation. But you know, he's not going to hear or see from me for a while, right? I mean, you guys
Right.
probably chat back and forth, but does he actually make any changes? It sounds to me like he's not even taking responsibility for himself, but his wife gave him the ultimatum, which it sounds like he didn't want, but then he kind of took, and then now it's, well, you know, now she's being the victim and now she's being this. I mean, both of them clearly have their issues and it's their relationship. But the whole point, I guess, my point is, when are you going to take responsibility for yourself? If your health's bad, why is your health bad? You're choosing to make these bad decisions. You're screaming for help, but you're not listening to anybody. And I'll give you an example, and it was an interesting. I'm going to throw this in here to this whole conversation, and then I'll let you continue on with this guy. I have a client who who comes to the man cave, and this client, when I first met him, had a very specific male name. And then about the third time that we saw him in the clinic doing his therapy, he had changed his name and it was a more innocuous kind of, you know, like Pat. I'm not going to say his name, but I mean, a very innocuous kind of no gender style name. And you could kind of see some of these behaviors were starting to happen. And then we didn't see him for a while because we ended up doing a hair restoration on him and he went home and then he came back in like a year later and he says, you know, he's got a whole new name now. Now, this name is completely bizarre. It's like Galaxy Home is his name. I mean, honestly, it is that bizarre. I mean, it is that bizarre. And he now refers himself to we. Okay. And I'm in, this is last Friday, and I'm kind of re-meeting him, and he's sitting there in the chair, and he's rehashing what I already know about his background, which he's already shared with Dr. Steve and I. And, you know, how he was abused and all these bad, horrible things that happened in his life. And I finally asked him and I said, Galaxy, I said, remind me, how old are you? He says, oh, I'm 30. I said, okay, all right, cool. And I'm doing the injections and he's doing a lot of talking. He's just kind of venting, which I really appreciate, actually. I don't mind clients just kind of using the time with me as just a vent session, a sounding board. I don't really offer opinions, but I do ask questions. And like I asked him, you keep saying we. I'm really confused. Why do you keep saying we? And then he explained, well, I refer myself as we, and he gave me this whole story. Oh, okay, great, whatever. Long story short, he tells me that he had his biological family is not part of his life anymore because they're not good people. But then he tells me this wonderful story about he and his biological brother who painted him this picture, and he shows me the picture, and I can see all the swelling pride of him showing me the picture that his brother painted for him and gave to him. And so I'm like getting all these crosswire signals of really what's going on in this guy's head. He's complaining about how the medical man cave wasn't interested in him, and it wasn't until Christian called him after he called into the office. Christian's the only guy who cares about him. These kinds of cries for help. So back to the story. So I'm in there injecting, and he's telling me about his bio family, how it's not working out anymore. But he now has what he calls a found family. And he said it about 4 times. Finally, I had to ask. I said, at 30 years old, what is a found family? Because clearly you haven't been adopted, and you're not in foster care because you're fucking 30, right? I didn't say that, but I'm thinking I said, what's a found family? And he tells me it's a family that he's met, that has taken him in and gives him the support that he needs, and it's a safe place for him and everything. And I'm telling this story to my counterpart, Rich, and we're sitting there at lunch Monday, or maybe it was Friday. No, it was Friday. It was right after I got done, and I'm telling Rich the story, and Rich goes, "Yeah, I know what a found family is. It's somebody who will put up with his bullshit. It's somebody who's willing to bring him in and empathize." And put up with his fucking bullshit. Christian, listen to what he was talking about. And I didn't, I'm always trying to be empathetic. And I'm always trying to be like, I'm not going to give opinions. I'm supportive. I'm listening. I'm injecting. I'm doing my thing. Let these guys talk. But Rich's point was really profound. This guy's screaming for help. So I'm sure there's people in his life that he knows that offer advice. Hey, do this, or here's counseling, or here's, he's seeking help in all kinds of places. And maybe he's getting it, maybe he's not. But at age 30, how much fucking bullshit does this guy have that he's dumping on now this found family? Well, they're the people who probably aren't calling him on maybe some of his bullshit. So I bring that back around to the story you're telling. And again, I don't know this guy. I know Galaxy. Just because he's told me everything, right? But I don't know your guy. But at some point in time, how much bullshit at age 38 to maybe 40, if he's your age, you're 40, right? How much bullshit has this guy built up and built up and built up that now he's just kind of like, I'm just going to vomit it out there? And I mean, you can tell me all kinds of great stuff. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out for the weekend and hanging out. And you and your wife were great. Your kids were awesome. But is he owning his bullshit? And is he just trying to dump it off? I guess in the end, that's kind of one of the questions that I have is how much bullshit is this guy carrying around that, one, he's either not owning, or two, he's trying to get somebody else to listen to. And I'll stop there.
So, you know, he brought up an interesting conversation. We had him over. I made some steaks and we were hanging out. And Jess and I were just kind of chit chatting. The kids were there, so it was not the like ideal environment, but it was what it was. And we started talking about like what we're doing. And again, I mean, it was hard to figure out what to talk about because it had been so long. So we were talking about, what I'm doing, my work, Jess's work. He said something. He goes, you guys have always been so motivated. You
Yeah.
you guys have always been so driven. Like you guys won't let anything get in your way of doing and being what you want to be. And as I was listening to him say this and describe Jess and I, in my head, I'm like, is there any other fucking way? Like, I mean, truly, I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Right.
well, what do you mean? Like, why wouldn't you be motivated? Why would you live life in a way where you're not trying to be something great? You're not chasing a dream. You're not executing the things in life to live the life you want. Um, to me, it was just like, hold on a second. Like you're saying this as it's foreign. And so the conversation went on, and he goes, I think the divorce kind of came in. There was a part of like that element of his life got inserted in organically, but then he said something about, I feel like I don't have that same motivation that you guys have. And he specifically said to me, he goes, Herzog, you started your gym in Colorado when you specifically told me when we were in college that you were moving to Colorado and it was one of the most saturated places for strength and conditioning coaches. He's like, and that didn't stop you. Like you became a strength and conditioning coach. You started your own gym. You made it successful. He's like, I don't understand that. He's like, I don't have anything that I'm chasing, nor do I have anything that I want in my life. And bro, when I heard this, it it made me internalize a lot of things all at once. But what I heard was almost to your point, I heard someone who's kind of given up. But then I went even further in my own thoughts as he was continuing to talk about this. And I wonder if he has ever been there. Like, I don't think this guy has given up. I don't think this guy is just now at a place in life where he's demotivated and he doesn't have the drive. I fear that this guy has always been in those shoes, that this has been his MO his entire life, that there's never been a moment of his life where he was chasing greatness, that he had dreams, that he felt like he could do something big, or that he envisioned this life and had a conversation with himself or him and his wife, and they said, here's how we're going to fucking do this. Here's how we're going to get there. These are the steps we're going to take. Like, let's actually plan this thing out. Let's talk about what needs to be done to go there. Like,
Yeah.
this is the journey. That's where I want to go. Let's fucking buckle up and go.
Well, when you described him, when you met him in college, and you and Jess were newly married, and he and this woman were newly married, no part of your story did you ever describe a guy. And I know we don't, I guess you could go into it deeper, but you didn't describe a guy who was the alpha of the situation. And I'm not saying you have to be an alpha in a relationship, but you very clearly, right off the bat, described he was married to a woman who was career focused and oriented, and he was not. I asked you what he got his degree, and you said education. Listen, people love to get liberal arts degrees in education. Why? Because I don't know. That's my thought. I don't fucking know. What are you going to do with that? Where's the motivation? Where's the careerism? Where's the, I'm going to be the greatest math teacher in the history of math. No, it's not that. And so he's married a woman who clearly has more motivation. I think there's more shame And I think there's a lot of lack of confidence in this guy, and he has continued to evolve. Now they have children. How old are these kids? Are they teenagers?
Twin girls,
Twin girls, and they're
12 years
14,
old.
12 years old. So not only that, here's a man who married a woman who is a careerist. They've now decided, it sounds like both of them, that divorce is the right thing to do for them. And but now it's getting crappy, right? She's she's got custody, and he's only making 3,000. There's all these things that he's choosing to do, as you and I talked about last time. If you're not changing, then you're choosing. He's choosing to make 3 grand a week or a month. He's choosing to live in this little cabin for 1,000 a month. He's choosing to not fight for his daughters. I don't know what kind of his dad he is, and I'm not going to bemoan him, but twin daughters who are now floating over to the mom side, I can only imagine how much drama is involved with the conversation she has with those two girls. I guarantee there's cell phones involved. I guarantee there's Instagram. I guarantee that there's all the challenges of having twin girls in today's world. And here's a mom who's very much the alpha, very much all about her, very much all about her career first. And this guy has chosen to allow that. And now, at age whatever he is, 40 something, with twin girls, now he's falling apart. This guy fucking started falling apart about 10 years ago.
Well, so get this.
Yeah.
This was the cherry on top. So he goes, I remember talking to you back in 2012 when you owned your gym, and you and I just had a catch-up conversation, and you had mentioned an opportunity where I could come out there. And at that time, I was going through strength coaches. I couldn't find one that would fucking show up to work, that would be disciplined, that was certified and credentialed, and could speak to youth athletes in the appropriate manner, like the whole thing. I just couldn't find a good fit. So I went through, 4 different strength coaches in the first 2 years I owned my gym. And so I think I was having a conversation with him around that time. And he goes, and I remember at that time thinking, man, I should just jump ship and come out to Colorado. So he's telling me this past weekend. And I said, well, what do you mean? Were you guys going to pick up a move? And he's like, no, like I was going to come out. And I said, so you were going to get a divorce? And he's like, well, I mean, I kind of was like thinking about it. Like at that time, Marianne was hard charging in her career. And, yeah, like there was a thought about maybe just changing directions and coming out and coming under your wing and working for you. So that, like, to me, I'm going, oh my gosh, that was 12 years ago, right? So this guy was thinking this 12 years ago. And so right there tells you everything about what their marriage was 12 years
Right.
ago.
Right.
And so this guy has been living for 12 years in a state of less than ideal for a married man, a father, and then stuff crumbles and the wheels fall off. And it's almost like I wonder if he's going, well, yeah, I saw that coming, and yep, that's my life now. His wife told him a year after the divorce, he still will go over every once in a while and have dinner. And he's like, it's fine. He's like, it's not great, but I like to see the girls. And so he eats at his old house and cooks on his old grill, which I had brought it up to him. I'm like, hey, the gas grill at our VRBO is dog shit. I go, can you pick up some charcoal on the way? There's a charcoal grill. I go, or do you have any at your house? And he's like, I don't. He's like, Marianne has all my grills. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? But anyway,
He
so
lost the grill in the
I did, yeah,
divorce.
yeah. But he goes, a year after Marianne pulls him aside and they're talking, and she goes, I was actually going to divorce you several years ago, but I didn't think it was fair for the kids. She fucking said that to him.
What a bitch.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I mean, we if we step back and we look at this, like this is not the only guy dealing with this. This is not
No.
the only guy who's gone through this, right?
Right.
And and part of me, like I guess I had my eyes open over the weekend to the reality for a lot of men and their version of it. It doesn't have to be the same story, but their version of that story where they're they're just not living the good life. They're not living a life as the best version of themselves. And it's fucking sad, man. It's really sad. Like, listen, I have my problems, and they're probably all first world problems. I'm okay with that. They're still my fucking problems. But I manage them as best as I can, and I stay optimistic, and I don't fucking play the victim card, and I don't ever sit in a corner and say, I'm not good enough. I could never do that. I don't have those skills. I couldn't learn how to do that. Like, I don't do it, but I think there's a lot of people that are.
So
There's a
here's
lot
the
of people that are selling.
yeah, agreed. And here's kind of the coaching statement, if you will. Here's the reality, I think, of the situation, especially, and you see this when kids are involved. And it doesn't matter the age of the kid. It really doesn't. You take your basic general guy, this guy we're talking about, okay? Clearly he wasn't from the military. Clearly you met him in college and he was going to be an educator of some form. Clearly he married a careerist female, definitely the alpha. Clearly they have kids. Now they're divorced. Now he's struggling with, well, I don't want my kids to hate me, and I'll go over there and we'll hang out and I'll be able to cook on my grill over at my old house that I used to live in, but now they live in, right? And I mean, I'll just, hey girls, how's school and how you doing? This is the wrong attitude to have. I guarantee you, and this goes back to kids. Kids love their mom and dad. They really and truly do. If something bad happened to them, unless of course they're kept in a locked in a closet and fed bread crusts and they're beaten daily, then kids will hate you. But I guarantee those twin girls love their dad. And I would guarantee you that as a divorced parents, they would much rather see a very positive dad who shows up. He's like, hey guys, great day today. This is what I'm doing recently. I'm so empowered by what I'm doing recently. Hey, I'd like you guys to come to my work one day. Or I'd like you to be a part of this, right? Where is that motivation to be your own happy person? Or do we say, well, it's all about the kids and I want to make sure the kids are happy and we got to I don't want my kids to be upset or I don't want this, and that's the bullshit. And that's the bullshit right there. It's like you're giving up on who you maybe are, who maybe you want to be, or who you could be to become this beaten down, and you allow yourself. And that's the thing right there. He's allowed himself to be beaten down by the whole situation. And now he plays this in his mind victim. Man, my life's terrible. Things suck. Gosh, Ryan, I wish I was as motivated as you. Gosh, Ryan, I wish I'd have taken you up on the time to come out to Colorado. Gee whiz me. No, listen, you're in this situation. And the last thing that your kids want to see is a pathetic man as their dad, because it doesn't help the situation. But if he can figure out a way to start showing a positive front on his end, let her do her thing. Let the mom do her thing. She's positive about her job. Maybe she's not. Who knows, right? But if the dad can show a positive front, then those two girls will be 12 and then 13 and eventually 16. And they'll see him as a positive resource in their life. They'll see him as a positive experience for them. And his experience and his ability to see himself with confidence will grow. But if he sits back and keeps taking this shitty beating and allows it to happen, then it's going to continue to happen. And by the time his kids are 18 years old, and they're going off to college, one of two things are going to happen. He's going to continue to bitch about the fact that now he's got to try and pay for their college, or he's going to be a positive part of their new experience in their life, and they will welcome him in. And that's the male leadership that's missing in situations like this. Okay, you got divorced because that relationship didn't work out. But these kids still love you. And these kids are still looking for some kind of dad guidance from you. And if you just give up and you just go, I live in a van down by the river and I come over and I get to cook on my grill. And hey guys, how's school? It's bullshit. It's crap. And I think more men need to hear it from some source. Honestly, how many times do you think guys go to therapy and the therapist goes, are you listening to your own fucking crap? This is bullshit. I mean, what are you doing? you're a 40-year-old man and you're just making $3,000 a month and feeling sorry for yourself. And
Mhm.
and you're saying your wife's, pit the kids against you. No, she hasn't. You've done that yourself. Have your own relationship with those kids. It doesn't have to be with her. Have your own relationship with those kids, right? Make it a positive atmosphere when you're around. Show them that you're moving forward in your life. Don't just sit back and be this horrible, morose, negative person. That's never going to make things better. And in the end, if you want to be a good dad, you always need to be showing a positive format for kids as they continue to grow. At age 12, holy shit, talk about formative years right now. Super
Right.
formative years.
Right. Yeah. The morning we the day we were leaving, that morning he came over. He had left his hoodie, and so he stopped by, and um I was doing a little workout in the dark in the front room of the place we were staying, and he came up, and um you could tell he had been thinking, because I mean, I had his wheels spinning from our conversations.
Yeah, good.
And we chatted for a little bit, and he goes, I appreciate you coming out. Like, I gotta, what did he say? I gotta not get my shit figured out. He said something along the lines of, I've gotta figure, oh, he goes, I gotta figure out what it is that I want. He goes, I don't know what I want. And I need to figure something out. So I don't know, man. You can lead a horse to water. I have in my executive coaching framework, I have this analogy of a river crossing. I can't remember if we've talked about that or not. Um,
I don't recall it.
so it's this entire idea of, like, it starts with you don't know.
Yeah.
And then it goes to you don't know. And then it goes to you don't know, you know. And then the last one is you know, right? So this hairline fracture is the moment of realization with you don't know. And it's usually in your 20s, but some people it takes to get into your 30s to really have this idea of this state of clarity, where it's no longer just straight ignorance. And it's this false sense of confidence. It's this, limited self-belief. It's the lies, the fear, all of the things that are kind of holding you back. And it's essentially just lack of awareness of your own limitations. And so when you cross this, so I use it in my practice, or I use it in my work a lot as the practice, like getting past that moment where um, you don't know. Like, we have to get to a point, and I heard that in him. I heard that in his voice, him kind of get to that place of, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
That's a good place to be, right? Because I fear that this guy has been living in the you don't know for way too fucking long.
But
Uh,
people allow themselves to live in you're
all the time,
allowing that. Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
the
You're
time.
choosing. Yeah.
But at the same time, and on the flip of this is, I've got 40-year-old clients that I work with where they're stuck in the you don't know. And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get past this idea of, okay, well, what do I do? Like, I figured it out. What I know of myself is a little less clear. Um, the world's bigger, and my place in it's really small. And do I think there is a better version? Is there a river to cross? Is getting across that river going to make me a different, better person? And the fear that holds us back from crossing that, because you can't cross it very easily. And I think that holds a lot of people back. And I believe we all have our rivers in our life. We all have multiple rivers in our lives. Some of them we don't even fucking know they're there. Some of them we see from a long ways away. Other ones we're standing on the shore. Some of them are a foot deep and we fucking trudge across it. Others are 4 feet deep and we don't think we're equipped. We don't think we're ready. We turn around and we go back and we live a couple more weeks or months or years of our life and then come back and look and we question and we just marinate in that. And at some point, it's getting through some of those arduous moments and crossing those fucking raging rivers where you get through it. Maybe you didn't have every piece of equipment and all of the knowledge and the skill that you thought you needed originally, but you get through it and you see the world a little fucking different. And you see your family a little bit differently. You see yourself a little bit differently. You've gained some self-confidence and self-belief because now you're there, but you still don't know, right?
You
You've
know,
crossed the river.
this guy's an Americant.
Mm-hmm.
He's an Americant.
Yeah.
And I promise you that if he's on social media, whatever it is, whether he scrolls TikTok or Instagram, I'll bet you he follows self-help people. I'll bet you he's looking at, how to do this guru stuff. And he probably follows none of it. Right. And what he
Yeah.
probably is doing is he's probably looking at all these people who have answers. Ryan Herzog seems to sound like he has answers. And God dang it, I know Ryan. And man, him and Jess, they're a great team. And those two kids, those are great kids. Oh my gosh. But I don't know how to then just take that first step forward. Or I'm not willing to. And it's not the I'm not willing. Well, there's the I'm not willing to. It's like me saying I'm not going to do dry January until Valentine's Day, right? But that's the easy little side story there. Oh, Randy's Zoom link. So anyway, I think that's the big challenge with this guy is he's an American.
Well,
He just doesn't want to.
I think what you just said. So in all of my work I do professionally and in my personal life, I do that. I use this kind of platform and methodology at Jess's office. I use it in reviews. I use it in problem solving. I mean, this is like, I would say one of my top 5 first principles. Okay. So
Yeah.
I believe that when you make a mistake, when something goes wrong, when you forget something, when there's a problem, anything less than success in your life, it falls back to a missing element of one or more of the following 3: skill,
Yep.
will, and knowledge.
Yep.
Okay, so let's use this drinking thing, for example, because it's an easy one. But you can apply this to everything. So 1 month of no alcohol. Do you have the skill to go with no booze for 30 days?
Yes, I do.
Do you have the knowledge? Now think about that, because this one gets a little tricky. Knowledge, people just jump to it. Yep, I understand that. But do you really? Do you have the knowledge to understand what it's going to take? Do you have the knowledge to go 30 days without alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then do you have the will?
Yes.
So why will you not do it? Or why will it not happen, I should say? Why? Because this is going to turn into a less than successful scenario. It will turn into what would be the right word here? It will fail. This will fail for you, correct?
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
So what is the missing component here? It's not skill, is it?
It's the want. Do I want to do it?
That's the will.
Okay.
That's will. That all comes back to will. That's just like saying an employee doesn't want to spend a Saturday afternoon coming into the office to work on something because it's their Saturday and they're going to do it on Monday, but it's due Monday morning. Yeah, but I don't want to come in on Saturday. That's will. That's a will issue. So that is going to turn into a problem that will fail and it will not be completed because of a lack in will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You blow this up into a much bigger subject like what we've been talking about. And now years and years and years have gone by, and this guy has no will to do anything.
Exactly. He's got the knowledge. He's got this, I mean, arguably he's got the skill, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's got a will issue to go get knowledge. Maybe he's got a will issue to go get the skill set to do a new professional track. Like it's just, I think so much of this, and I've argued this with a lot of people, I think so much of this comes back to lack of will. Even if it is a skill or knowledge issue, that oftentimes comes back to a lack of will. You don't want to.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't know how. They're just so terrified. It's fear. That's what causes the anxiety. They're terrified to try and reinvent themselves, you know. And listen, I've reinvented myself multiple times, at least in a professional perspective. I've had many different jobs from, being in direct healthcare delivery to medical sales to back into aesthetics to selling for a paint company for a while. That was a total reinvention. You remember that? Those days were dark for Christian. And then, here I am back into more of now it's more of a consultative role. But being able to, and I had the skill, obviously, and I had the will to do it. And so men get terrified. They're terrified to try and step outside of that comfort zone. They're terrified to try and reinvent themselves. And I get it, but sometimes you just have to say, F it, I'm going to reinvent myself in this situation. I am going to take this one step that's going to change things. I'm going to go to the gym like I've been doing, Ryan. I'm going to the gym just about every day ever since, I joined that gym. I made that decision. I'm doing that. And now because I've done that, a lot of more things are opening up in my brain that are allowing me to then make other choices, look at things differently. I feel better, etc. We gotta be able to try and I do this at my office with men all the time. I give them one thing to change. Hey, just do this one thing. And when I see you in 3 months, tell me you've been doing that one thing. And a lot of them are doing it. Or you can see that not only have they done that one thing, and it was an easy thing, right? Now they're doing that one thing, plus they've added a couple other things. And so when 3 months later, when they're coming in, that's a different person. They're talking to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I've tried this. And do you think that's good? And how is this? I mean, it's transformative when a guy can just change one small thing.
Guys, you guys, by the way, sorry to interrupt you guys. You guys sound amazing. I'm so sorry I'm late. For some reason, I had down 10. My fault. I'm sorry. Um, One thing, can you guys touch upon the fact that, you know, our trajectory, life changes, the world changes, technology changes jobs. And throughout our career, a lot of times we need to really think ahead and think about, well, this might not last for a long time because, their technology's going to take over, or I need to figure out a way to reinvent myself. And to your point, Christian, all of us at some point had to really think about taking what we were doing and realizing that it's time for a change. What are we going to do? What is our skill set? What can we parlay this opportunity into something else to have some longevity here?
Agreed.
It's like for instance, like these flyers. I know it's different, but these businesses, like I have this cousin that I think I might have mentioned it to you. She had a hair salon in the Palisades community. And it wasn't a fancy salon, but it was a salon for the family, for the gardeners, for the housekeepers. And she's been doing this business for 42 years, solo in a building. She's the sole supporter, the breadwinner of her entire family. The business is gone. The building's gone. What does she do? She needs to reinvent herself. She needs to figure out, well, I'm going to have to maybe, join a salon that's maybe close to the area. I'm not going to maybe have the luxury of of having my own place right now, I'm gonna have to maybe get a chair somewhere and bring my business to that chair, or like in my situation, I was working as a development executive for a company and it was great. It was amazing. When I was there, I learned a bunch of other skills. When I went on my own to be an executive and a producer, I had these other skills to fall back on. So that was my way of having bread and butter to pay my bills during the day while I could pursue my production company and run my production company.
But you also fell back on those skill sets because they're what's part of your identity and they're what's make that it helps make you happy. And so you fell back on what you know how to do, and then you took a step in a different direction. Now you have to do it on your own. The gentleman that we're talking about here, that Ryan, this whole story that Ryan's brought up, he's getting divorced or he got divorced. To the point you just made, Randy, that should have been the kick in the pants, the fire, if you will, that burned down everything. That should have been a kick in the pants for this guy to lean back on. Who am I? And what can I do now on my own to stay positive, to become a contributing member in the relationship? He's got twin daughters that are 12 years old now. And kind of the background of the story is the guy's just kind of given up. And I mean, the divorce alone should have been that kick in the pants to where he goes, okay, well, this sucks. Don't be morose. Don't sit back. Don't just get worse. Pivot, right? Use what you're good at. Refocus your identity away from, okay, so what if you're divorced? Your kids still love you. Trust me, they still love you. Become a focused, positive man in a different light and show those kids that light, because you don't have a relationship with the wife anymore. That's okay. That's over. But those kids will always be there. So, go down those roads. And it's hard. I'm not saying like, here's the recipe, go cook the bread, but you're going to have to be more resilient. You're going to have to sit back and go, yeah, the Palisade fires just happened and everything is gone. And this woman you're describing is she'll figure it out because that's who she is, and she'll take a positive spin on it, hopefully.
But will she figure it out? Some
I don't
people,
know.
like your
Some people
friend,
don't. Yeah.
if negative, if they're a failure, if they don't have that, our energy, we're take charge guys. We're going to figure out a way to find money. We're going to figure out a way to make something happen. But a lot of times, like, I don't know if this woman's going to ever, seriously, ever recover because she's old school. She has a very old-fashioned, stuck in her way mentality. She's been doing the same thing for 42 years. I don't know if she's going to recover. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, my son, and I'll leave it at this because I hear where you guys are going, but it's like my son, he's always been in relationships and he was in a relationship, a very codependent relationship. He always worked. He took a break for school. He came to me and he said, Dad, I'm going to paramedic school. I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to have money for food. I'm not going to have any money. Can you help me? And I said to him, look, I'd be happy to help you, but you need to do something. You need to bring something to the table. You need to get a part-time job. You need to come up with some hours during the week to help me out, but something. I don't agree that everybody has the luxury of not working and that can just focus on school. I don't get that.
I agree.
What happened with my son is his girlfriend, who was in love with, basically said, "Honey, I love you. I'm going to support you." She had a good job. She supported him. He had no motivation after school to get a job. He was comfortable. She was working. She was paying all his bills. She was paying for all his food. And I feel like he took advantage of it. He lost himself. He wasn't pursuing he wasn't looking for work. He said he was looking for work, but he wasn't hungry. She ended up dumping him. She
Oh
dumped him.
man.
She felt like she lost herself. He was always sort of a father figure in the relationship. I would listen to him, and I know we talked about this, and I would see myself, and it would literally make me sick to my stomach because that's how I talked to him, and he was speaking to his girlfriend that way. She finally said, "Look, I need to find myself. I need to get myself together." So he had no job. He had no one to fund his lifestyle. He came crawling to me. He's an athlete. He wasn't going to the gym. He wasn't working out. He wasn't connecting with other people. He basically lost himself for this woman. Within the last 7 months, this is my kid, but a lot of people are not like this. He has completely turned his life around. He used that experience as a huge lesson. He got a job within 2 weeks. He got a great job at a hospital in an emergency room as a paramedic, great money, great benefits. He ended up going back to the gym, joined a soccer team. He's lost 80 pounds. He's in the best
Wow.
shape. He just bought a car last night and he's just getting a promotion at work within the last 7 months, 8 months.
What was the motivation?
The motivation is this kid, I've seen him throughout his life, when there's a crisis, when there's a change, he doesn't feel sorry for himself. He doesn't, obviously it's been tough. He doesn't become the victim. My whole philosophy is, what are you going to do about it? You're going to
Yeah.
sit, feel sorry for yourself, like your buddy. And I know he's a lot older and he's a lot more baggage, but this kid completely turned his life around. He's made friends, like-minded friends. He's not ready for a girlfriend, but he's made a lot of really great, amazing girl friends. And he's on fire right now.
That's a great story.
But I feel like a lot of these people, I really like throughout my, I try to help people that, and I know we all do, that are going through changes. And we can give all the advice in the world, but if they're not willing to own it, if they're not willing to do the work and take charge, it's not going to happen. And I think the easiest thing to do for starters, like with your buddy, and I'm sure you've told him this, is he needs to start writing in a journal, number one, where his head is and what's going on in his life and what he wants to change and what he wants to accomplish. And every day, like you said, do something towards your goal and figure out what you love, what you loved about all your careers, or your career in the past, what you love to do in your life, and come up with a career that's going to give you passion and excitement and also going to be able to, fund your lifestyle and your kids' lifestyle. But I think we can preach all we want, but it's about, I'm not trying to get off point here, but there's a book called the the art of it's a really great art of it's a book where, it's called The Artist's Way. And if you're a creative person, there's a book that if you commit to these principles and you do the groundwork every day, and you through this book, through these lessons, you really figure out what you want to do with your creativity, but also start doing the work every day, like your friend needs to do every day. Do that work and meet with a therapist, meet with a mentor, and come up with a plan. Have a partner to help strategize and figure out what he's going to do every day to get to that next step in his life. But when you're depressed, when you're hopeless, when your family has left you and you feel like a loser, if you don't have that drive and that fuel within you, it's going to be a problem. unless you're
Yeah.
willing. Sorry, you were on a great roll there, but I just feel like, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a fire, whether you get laid off, sometimes being laid off is the best thing someone can do for you
Mm.
because you're
Absolutely.
stuck. And you're not going to quit. You got a family, you got a girlfriend, whatever you have. You're not going to quit, but you got laid off. What the hell? You got a mortgage. You got your kid's school. What are you going to do?
So Ryan, let me ask this question. We've been talking for an hour about this guy. Obviously, clearly on the surface, we haven't dove deep into his, everything, but that's not the point. Is this something that like you feel like you're gonna keep up with him or try and help continue to remotivate him? Or is this kind of one of those things where you're like, I don't know if I can help this guy. I mean, how do you feel about it?
I think when I got home yesterday, I was able to disconnect from the emotional piece that I felt when I was there because my emotions were all over the place with him and just the stuff he was saying. And like I mentioned to you when we first started talking, how I had a hard time conceptualizing the way that he was operating, the way that he was running his life, the way that he was controlling or not controlling his life and not taking ownership and responsibility. So since I've disconnected from all of that, I think my next step at this point is going to be a pretty hardcore accountable friend where, again, I've known this guy for almost 20 years. And so I think my heart's telling me, he needs to do a lot of this on his own, but I'm the type that I love working with individuals who, again, are either lost, they're in that don't know they don't know, or even the know they don't know and they just need guidance. That's where I feel a lot of my strengths come into play with coaching and accountability and guidance. But the biggest thing I think for him is it's his effort. And what I've learned in the last 15 years of working with athletes in military, more than the executives I work with, is you you really can't teach effort. To teach someone how to work harder, to teach someone how to want it more, to be more diligent or disciplined about whatever practice they're in. I've literally had zero success in this. I can motivate people and I can get guys fired up, whatever their goals are, and help give them tools and again, encourage and coach. But this true like effort, and it goes back to the will piece. I can't give someone that. I can't coach that into someone. That has to be something that within them, in my belief, within themselves, they're able to generate, they're able to find, they're able to discover, whether that's through, again, I'm all about journaling, mindfulness, daily practices, even if it's just getting on a better track for health and wellness so his mind is sharper and his brain fog is limited. All of these little things he needs to do in order to find the reason and have his true why. And I know that's such a buzzword. It's been buzzwords, I would say, since Simon Sinek came out with, the book. Like, but I do think that's so powerful. If you really don't have a reason why, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get out of bed and work out if your why isn't big enough. You're not going to change your dietary habits if your why isn't big enough. You're not going to fight for your marriage if your why isn't big enough. And so he's missing the why. And I want to just get real with him. And I want to be that friend who can demand effort, but I'm not going to do this for him because I'm a believer that if I do the work for him, it will never provide the value. And to me, that's what it's all about is doing the work, putting in the time, the energy, the effort, doing the reps So then he looks back and says, that was my journey. And yeah, maybe I had some people helping me, but I did the walk. I went through the bushes. I was in the weeds, and I'm here now because of what I did, of where I was to where I am now. Like, I did the work. And I've seen this with athletes that way back when, late 2000s, would try so hard to get these kids to become NHL studs that I would do so much of the work for them. Whether that's, like Randy said, throwing some cash to somebody so they can just get by, rather than that person getting a job that is uncomfortable, that they don't like, that earns money so that then they can pay their bills. Like, to me, I think I need to have that conversation. It's going to be a pretty bold conversation from my standpoint and my delivery, that, like, I believe in him, but he's got to do the work, and I'll support him, and I'll hold him accountable, and I'll be the one that's going to demand effort, but he's got to do this work, and he's got to figure out why he wants to do this work. Because, to Randy's point, if you don't spend time digesting what's going on upstairs, if you don't spend time with the question that he posed me, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know who I want to be. Well, are you spending time with that question? Are you journaling about that? Are you meditating on that? Are you finding quiet time to just process what that looks like? Or are you just asking that question and then the weeks go on? And we know the days are long and the years are short. So, buddy, 2030 is going to be here. And if you're still just going, you know what? I don't know what I want. I don't know.
Yeah, and you can't
Like,
pull that shit at 40,
no,
you know? It's
no.
like it's like my younger brother used to pull that shit, you know. It's I don't know what I want to do. He hates his wife, he hates his marriage, he hates all this stuff. And he'd say stuff like this, I just don't know. And I'm like, well, guess what, bro? You don't get to be mad at mom and dad anymore because we're now 40 and now we're 50, right? And I haven't had to say this to him anymore, but to the point you're making, it's like you're gonna have to, you kind of have to smack these people kind of across the face a little bit with, bro, you're 40. All right, this crap doesn't work anymore. You're not in college, or you're not in your late 20s trying to really understand adulthood. You're freaking 40. Make a decision. Make one small decision. Let's get started there, and I'll help hold you accountable. And then once that's become like the consistent behavior, great. Here's number two. Let's add that in. Oh, you already did that. Good for you. Look at you. You're making positive steps forward. That's kind of how I think about this whole guys at our age group that are not, they can't figure things out. It's like,
Well,
But oh,
even this piece with his kids, like, I like to look at things in a multi-generational lens, and this legacy, his daughters are growing up. Again, you guys know, I believe more is caught than taught. They're catching what a man looks like, what a man does, how a man lives his life, how a dad, how a husband, like, those are the things that these two twins are learning about life and men through their dad, through how he's living his life. And with this, hey, I can't get another job and I can't make more than $3,000 a month. And I don't know how to do that, or that's too risky, or that scares me, or whatever it is. So, what are these girls going to grow up looking for in a husband? How are these girls going to move into adulthood as females in society and view what men should be and how men should operate? Like, that's scary to think about.
yeah,
It's
and
it's not just about him.
he's setting the precedent because he's their dad,
Yeah.
and he's setting that precedent. You can't watch reality TV, or you can't go on Instagram and listen to some other person's dad talk about it, because then that little girl is going to go, well, I wish my dad was like that. And my daughter has told me that. I did my daughter a pep talk last semester, and basically told her, stop feeling sorry for yourself. So you failed chemistry. Pull your head out of your ass. And her roommate, she told her roommate kind of the pep talk that I given her, and her roommate said, I wish my dad would talk to me like that. And Rebecca shared that with me, and it made me feel good because, here's my daughters who took what I had to say to heart, shared that experience with her friend, and her friend was like, "Man, I wish my dad would." And she said, can your dad talk to me and motivate me? And I was like, sure, I'll have a talk with her, but she's not my kid. So the conversation is going to be, it's not going to be the same, you know,
Right.
but
Right.
that's really what it's about. He's got to realize that he's setting a precedent for those two that's going to be a negative precedent. And if he cares about anything, it should be those two kids. And, you know,
Setting an example. I mean, that's the most important thing. But
that's
a
right.
lot of these guys are so stuck in their own, they're not even thinking about that, which is so unfortunate and so short-sighted because they're the parent. You have a responsibility. Just because you're going through your crap, you made a commitment as a dad, as a partner, to, first of all, not give up and continue to set that example, no matter what it is. Listen, I don't care if it might be good for this guy, by the way, to get a part-time job somewhere. You know, get
Hmm.
a part-time job at a coffee shop, get a part-time job somewhere completely out of his comfort zone where he's connecting with other people. Maybe it'll give him a sense of who he is, and maybe he'll start liking himself a little bit more. Maybe he'll see what he doesn't want to do, and maybe it'll motivate him to strive for more success. Not saying that's not successful, but maybe there's a way for him to just get out of his comfort zone and get in the workplace, no matter what that is, even if it's a couple hours a day
Hmm.
or
You
giving
know,
back.
Randy, you said something interesting there, Randy. You know, I, I look at it like this. So many men live in a beer commercial. And think about that statement. Think about how beer commercials back in the 90s and then commercials today, or so many men just live in a commercial. Men in commercials are, we are portrayed as dolts, as idiots. We need help. You know, how about these insurance commercials where it's got the guy trying to spray the wasps down and he oh I can't do it and they have to call in the backup dad Colt McCoy to come get on the ladder and spray the thing down. I know Ryan's probably never seen it because he doesn't watch TV, but the point I'm making is this is what society's doing. They're painting men as incapable idiots. And so many men live in that realm. It's like, well, you know, I just don't know how to do it, you know, and they're okay with that. But they don't realize how negative of a projection they're putting out there by buying into that and playing into that. And a lot of them don't even realize they're doing it. They're literally living in a beer commercial.
I think, I look back, just a quick thing, but I remember, you know, I always had goals. I always, you know, was the guy that would take risks. I always, would do sort of the unthinkable my entire life. And growing up, was very sort of conservative, conventional, sort of mentality where, I've expressed this, you stay at a job for, 30 years and you retire from there. And, I was always just doing things that were completely out of the box and out of anybody's sort of consciousness. But I remember when I left Paramount and I was working for this woman, we were together for 12 years. And the job looked unbelievable on paper. Executive VP of her company, running this entire, managing the staff, hiring the staff. Basically, it looked amazing on paper. I was making great money. I had two young kids. This woman owned me 7 days a week, owned
Hmm.
me. Kids soccer game. She would call me. I was like the husband. I was like the father to her children. I ran her company. I was everything. After a while, it was great to have money. It was great to be able to pay my bills, but I lost myself. I lost myself. She ran into money. I was so loyal and I lost my car. I almost lost my house. You know, um, she wasn't able to pay me. I was working, for nothing, hoping that we would get another deal. And it went on for a long time. And I remember it was a birthday, it was like a monumental birthday with my brother. And I was so depressed because I didn't have, I spent all my time making her shine, but losing myself in the process. And I remember just getting to a point, I ended up seeing like a life coach, therapist, and we would do exercises, and that was all great and everything. I would send out resumes, I would speak to people, but at the end of the day, I was in a different place because I lost myself. Thank God I was able to get out of that bad situation, take a pay cut, get a job. I got a job at a TV company. They had no idea what to do with me. I was a film guy, I was an executive. I ended up getting this opportunity and I was able to turn my life around and get myself back. But a lot of people, a lot of men lose themselves. And so, how are we going to help them get themselves back? And to both of your points, you guys have some really great ideas on how you can help that person. But to your point, at the end of the day, they got to want it for themselves. They got to want it really badly. And they got to do the work. They got to put the work and the effort into those, to doing the groundwork to get that new opportunity.
Yeah, agreed.
Once kids come into play, once you have responsibilities and bills and relationships, life gets tough.
Mhm.
Life gets tough. You cannot lose yourself in the process.
And Randy, I can't agree more. I mean, I see it. I see it daily when I work with these clients. Everybody wants something. Everybody wants a new body. Everyone wants a new level of athletics. Everyone wants a new team that has this and all of these things in life. We want new versions, better versions, upgrades to our stuff, to our body, to our mind, sharpness. It's so overwhelming. And I think so much of it just really comes back to why do you want that? Like, there's so much information that we have to filter on an hourly basis, way more than people did 10, 15 years ago. And people are just consumed with these things, other people's lives, other people's marriages, other people's jobs, other people's, hobbies and interests. But like, why do you want it? Why do you want this? I talk to the kids. I mean, as I've said, I have 100 kids right now, elite hockey players. They all want to play in the NHL. I asked this question: who wants to play in the NHL? Everybody, hands up, without even thinking about it. Why. Half of them can't tell you why. A few of them are like, it would be cool. And then one or two will give you a legitimate reason why they want to play in the NHL. But the rest of them, they don't know why. So if you don't know why you want it, how are you going to put the work into it when I tell you, hey, here's a template, follow this? Well, hang on, coach. That's going to be, you only want me sleeping 8 hours a night. I like to sleep 10 hours a night. I'm supposed to take cold showers. I need to be at the gym for 2 hours a day. Like there's other things I want to do. Well, that's fine. But you told me you wanted to play in the NHL. I do. Well, then you need to do this. I don't know if I can. Well, then you don't want to. Right. It's like, I think so much of this to really like kick this thing off and start to help men and guide men and be a navigational tool, like we got to simplify it. You
You
really
know,
find out. And I literally, this is my question to all of my clients, especially in the health and wellness field. Somebody comes up to me, I want to lose 50 pounds. Why? Well, I'm just overweight. That's why? Because you're overweight? That's not good enough. Well, it would be really nice to fit in my jeans from 10 years ago. That's your why? Okay. Well, let's talk in about 3 days because I'm pretty sure that you're going to fall short and you're going to fail. Like that's your why. You think that's going to power you through a change in your life? I disagree. I don't know. I could go on for this for a long time because I think this piece is big. Listen, really quick. I have a call at 11:30. I have to jump on.
Yeah, I have to jump to.
you guys, I'm so sorry, by the way.
It's
I had
good. It's good.
10. I'm so sorry. I want
What
to,
and you guys keep going. Or Christian, you said
oh,
you got to bounce.
Yeah, I got to jump too. I got to buzz the office.
okay, real quick. You guys see me, by the way?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Is my camera better, Randy?
I cleaned up for you guys, by the way, because every time I see you, I look like a schlub. And your camera looks amazing, Christian.
Thank you.
You look dapper as all dapper. You
Sexy.
too, Ryan. Okay, so real quick. So um Cameron, he's a guy that I work with every once in a while. Um, he's putting together a string out. So basically, he's taking a look at all these interviews that we've done, okay? All these prototypes, and he's going to put something together. I just want like a 5 minute piece that I can send my agent because my agent's not going to look at all these um these prototypes. Okay.
Okay.
I just got a message from him. Um, he needs permission to download them. He's not able to download.
What do you need? Written permission?
That was the email you sent me this morning, right, Randy?
Yes.
I put that in this morning, so he should
Okay.
have permissions.
Perfect.
And,
Great.
and honestly, if he has issues, just have him reach out directly to me. But he should be good to go. I gave that email address that you sent me full permission.
Perfect. Fantastic. So basically, and just in a nutshell, he's going through these interviews. I told him what to look out for and to, really capitalize on, the most pertinent, the most dramatic, the most exciting portions of these interviews. Okay. He's going to put something together. We'll get a graphic, at the top. If you get a chance, if you can look at some of those names, um, I have another list. Unfortunately, I was telling Christian, a lot of those great names, there's already podcasts, but we're going to come up with something even better.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to get just sort of a working title and a tagline. I'll send it to my buddy in New Orleans just to do a quick little logo just for this. And then if all's well, Cameron, if I can get him to do this, will help me with a deck. So I'll have your photos, I'll have your bios, I'll have everything about, your business, Ryan, and everything you do, and Christian. And we'll build it and make it really concise, really simple, really clean, and stylized. So, we have a tool to work with.
Love it.
Okay.
Sounds
Love
good.
it.
Um, and then your camera's amazing, Christian.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a way to get your backgrounds a little bit more similar.
Yep.
You want some more color?
Or maybe just like a white back, maybe like because right now I see Ryan and then I just see you. It's just very different. You
Yeah.
almost need it to look like you're in the same space.
So I was telling Ryan this. I got a buddy who's got
Hey, boys,
probably
sorry
about,
to jump on. I got to
okay.
go.
Go, go.
See you, Ryan.
All
We'll
right.
fill you in. We'll fill you in.
Okay.
Nice
Have a
work
great
though.
day.
You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
See you, Ryan.
Bye.
I've got a buddy who I'm going to have dinner with Friday. He has about $80,000 worth of studio background, cameras, lighting, everything that he's just trying to unload. And he says, "Listen," he goes, "why don't you come over and see what you got, and then we can figure out, what it looks like." And then, I've talked to Herzog about, he was talking last time we were on the call about setting up something in his basement. Like we could literally make like a lounge look in his basement. I don't know. I really like how Sean Ryan, I like his podcast. I like how they're sitting. It looks like they're sitting in my man cave, just in the front lobby in front of that bar. That's what it looks like. And I
That's right.
really like that look. I'm in an unfinished basement with a black background and a new camera and some new lights to, make me look better. And my little dry erase board that says "Suck it, Trebek." That's what I got going on.
Who's Trebek?
Seriously, do you not watch SNL?
I do, but I haven't watched it in a while.
So Will Ferrell used to do Celebrity Jeopardy, and Sean
Oh yeah,
Connery
yeah, yeah,
used
yeah,
to
yeah.
come on. And one day he just basically said, "Suck it, Trebek," right? And so I bought that T-shirt over a decade ago. I'll tell you the story, and then I got to bounce too. So I've got this T-shirt. I'm working with this salesman out of Montana. And not only is he my independent sales rep selling my devices into the hospitals up and down Montana and Wyoming and the Dakotas, et cetera, very rural. but he's also got a master's in ceramics engineering, and he was the backseater in an F-14 Tomcat. So he's basically Goose to Maverick, right? This was his life before he started selling for me, and now he sells medical equipment, and he's a fly fishing guide on the Madison River in Montana. So he says, "Hey, the next time you come up and we work together, I want to take you fishing." And I'd never gone fly fishing in my life before. So we go up there. He's like, "This Thursday, I'm going to take you on the river. It's a beautiful September day. It's 70 degrees. It's just one of those unbelievable days. I have no idea what I'm doing on the river, but he's paddling his boat. And we're floating down, and there's a guy on the bank taking photos, and I'm wearing my Suck It Trebek t-shirt, and I don't see this guy because I'm trying to catch fish. Um, Doug's just, he's just rowing the boat. And then as we float past the guy, Doug's like, "Hey, Randy," or whatever the guy's name was. And they say hi. And then I go home, and 2 weeks later, what shows up to my house is a photo of me floating on the river with Doug behind me paddling. And there I am throwing a cast, and it says "Stuck at Trebek." That picture was scattered all over Montana's like fly fishing, periodical magazines, and some of the photos that guy did. Yeah, "Stuck at Trebek." So I was like, that's freaking fantastic.
That is so funny.
So one of the ideas that I had for this podcast, because I like comedy and I like to bring obscurity into a lot of things, and I said to you yesterday, wait till you see what I've got over my shoulder. Like a title, and I don't know what you think about this. I'm just throwing stuff out there. This is how I brainstorm. One of the titles would be like "Suck a Trebek" and other buzzwords we don't like to talk about, or I don't know, just little obscure things that kind of gives it like, wait, what is this about? I got to listen to this, right? Suck it, Trebek, and because a lot of people know what that is, especially guys in our age group. Now, a lot of younger guys aren't. They're going to be like, "I don't know what that is," but I don't know. I'm just thinking about different kind of fun.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Plays on words.
Yeah, a play on words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
There's already a man cave, something man cave.
I know. I saw that. Now, Ryan and I were kind of reviewing your list, and I do like Behind the Man Cave. And Ryan's got his Herzog Edge, and I said to Ryan, "What about not? It wasn't Behind the hold on, let me get your list up. I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Dang it. What's my Gmail? That's not it. Oh man, here we go. Here we go. So the one I liked was this was Beyond the Man Cave, and I said something like the behind the scene, or the I had like the word edge and man cave kind of in there, because this is kind of man cave-ish. I've been working at the man cave for 4 years. It's become my identity, at least work identity, and kind of how I've evolved into this. And Ryan's got his Herzog Edge. I was just trying to like the edge in the man cave. That just sounds. I don't like how that sounds. But I just threw a couple of those out. They're early on in the recording, so I'll download this recording. I'll put it on that YouTube channel again. That way you can access it.
Okay, great. Oh, this one, great, perfect.
Yeah.
Man Cave Unfiltered.
Man, and that was one of the ones that Gary Timmons and I were talking about when he and I were first talking. We were talking about, because we're both corpsmen, and so we were talking about, and the Marines call corpsman doc, even though we're not physicians. And it was like docs unlimited, docs unfiltered, say anything with your doc. It was stuff like that, but the term doc goes more to doctor, and so we were trying to get away from that. He had used like unscripted, unfiltered, just all that kind of stuff. I'll keep playing with the play on words. We'll come up with
The Edge of the Cave.
That's kind of cool. That's not bad. The Edge of the Cave, or or the Edge of the Man.
Yeah, Edge of the Man. Man on the Edge.
Man on the Edge. That sounds like a novel. Sounds like a what's his name? A Jack Reacher
Oh,
novel.
okay. Well, I know you got to get going, so
Yeah, I got to bounce.
have a great day. So you'll send me this.
Yeah. Yep.
Great. Good work. And let's talk soon.
Yeah, we'll schedule another one. I'm going to tell you though, the next one, I'm going to have a guest on, and we're going to talk about youth hockey. And it's a parent whose son is been in youth hockey, and I've already I primed him for this conversation. He's ready for it, and I told him, I said, I want to hear why you felt that hockey was right for your boy, and then now that he's been in it for almost 8 years, how do you feel about it today? And he's got a whole, I mean, it's there's some hilarity. I make fun of him. I mean, it's I gave him a lot of, a lot of grief about it. We've been friends for a long time, so I've already primed him and he's ready to come on. So we'll schedule that and we'll have him on.
Okay. I have another guy too that might be good too.
Awesome.
I'll fill you in later. Okay.
Okay. See you,
Have a
man.
great day. Take
Yeah.
care.
You too. Bye.